Good Friday morning, everyone. Welcome back to Weather on the Go, all your weather coverage. In today's weather forecast, we'll be walking you through the next 7 to 10 days and showing you what your weather forecast will be across the country and across North America, as well as check in on the tropics as well. So if you like detailed weather breakdowns across North America and with the tropics, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below as I will keep you up to date with the weather forecast right here on this channel. Also, be sure to press the thumbs up button as it helps to get all of this weather information passed along to more and more people. So looking back over the past 3 days, we've had a couple areas of some busy weather. We've had a lot of rainfall across the Pacific Northwest, especially up there towards Seattle and down toward Portland, Oregon. I know it's been very rainy for you over the past couple of days. We did see some beneficial rains across the Midwest and the western Ohio Valley with the ongoing drought conditions up across these areas, and then down and across Florida there and southeastern Georgia, seeing lots of rainfall over the past 3 days as well. But like I mentioned, from the Midwest into the western Ohio Valley, we did see some beneficial rains over the past 3 days, and with the ongoing drought, and it continues to intensify across this region, we can take just about any drop of rain we can get. So across portions of Wisconsin here, northeast Iowa, much of northern Illinois, even parts of southern Illinois, we did see some decent rains. Some areas there in southwest Wisconsin actually picked up over 4 inches of rain just within the past 3 days. So that is some good news with their drought, because if you look up here into southwest Wisconsin, we actually have a moderate, severe, and even extreme drought across that region that extends back into Iowa and then back into the central plains. And of course, down here in the southern plains, into Texas, Louisiana, and now into southern and central Mississippi. Yeah, we need the rainfall desperately down here as we have a extreme and exceptional drought, which is actually the worst category of drought on the drought monitor. So we definitely need the rainfall down there. So let's see if we can get it. So looking here at the weather pattern now and into this weekend, we have this bowling ball looking trough across the western United States with a ridge or building heights across the eastern 2/3 of the country. That's just fancy terms for warm weather. So you're going to be seeing some warm weather across the eastern 2/3 of the United States. And just to break this down for you a little bit more, here's the general weather pattern heading into this weekend. With that trough out west, we're going to be seeing those cooler temperatures, departure from normal, with an active storm track right in the middle there across the Great Plains, much like we've been seeing over the past few days, up across the upper Midwest, and then diving back down to the southeast there, across southeast Canada and into the northeast. But underneath that, yeah, that we have a high pressure ridge, and that's where we start to see more of that moisture coming in out of the Gulf of Mexico and a southerly flow out of the jet stream here, and that helps to warm us up across the eastern 2/3 of the country here in general. So your high temperatures today, yes, we are back into the 90s and possibly as far north as the Des Moines region, Omaha there, and even Sioux Falls. We could be up to near 90 degrees this afternoon, and we're nearing the triple digit mark down here toward the Dallas region again, getting into Wichita Falls, Waco, all the way down toward Houston, the Brownsville region, Corpus Christi. A lot of these areas will be getting well into the 90s and approaching the triple digits this afternoon. A lot cooler across the Northeast. We will be seeing some cloud cover here and also seeing some cooler weather with those winds out of the north and west here. We're going to be seeing more of those 60s, even some upper 50s in those higher elevations. And then look out west. Yeah, the Pacific Northwest today, very chilly with that trough. We're going to be seeing a lot of areas in the 60s and 50s out here, even those higher elevations. Yes, we're seeing highs into the 30s and 40s up there. And then looking at your Saturday, entering into the weekend, much of the same weather pattern, the cooler temperatures out west, particularly in those higher elevations. And then, of course, across the middle of the country, we have that high pressure ridge. So temperatures will be back into the 80s and 90s on Saturday, and really much of the same, just carbon copy that to Sunday as we enter into the first day of October. Much of the same. And again, this is anomalously warm for this time of year, so it feels more like an Indian summer across the middle of the country. What do we see moving in through the first full week of October? Well, really just much of the same. We have anomalously warm temperatures expected or likely across the eastern 2/3 of the country, much like we've been seeing, and that takes us through much of next weekend. On Sunday, October 8th, we start to see some signs of change, though, as we get towards the later portion of next weekend, as we see warmer than normal temperatures filtering into the Sacramento Valley out here, into California, getting into Oregon, Washington State, and really much of the Pacific Northwest, areas that are very cool this weekend into early next week. Yeah, the pattern will be shifting in toward later next weekend, and this will begin with drier weather, but then we'll start to see more wetter weather become more likely across the Lone Star State down here into Texas. Areas that do need the rain should be getting it as we get through the next week here. Also, above average rainfall up across the upper Great Lakes and the upper Midwestern regions, and just a small sliver there of eastern Carolinas could be seeing some above normal precipitation through the next week. And just to highlight this, through next week, yeah, we're going to be seeing the rainfall across the middle of the country. We need it desperately across this region. But more importantly, yeah, down here to Texas, remember where we were talking about the extreme and exceptional drought on the drought monitor? Well, look at the rainfall that's on the way into next week and the amounts here. Yeah, we could be seeing Oklahoma City, Dallas, Fort Worth, Waco, down to San Antonio, areas surrounding that to the Texas Hill Country, getting 1 to as much as 3 inches of rain, and that will be widespread. And we even could be seeing some amounts localized up to 4 or 5 inches if all goes well across portions of central Texas through next week. So that is definitely some good news. Again, looking at the drought monitor down here, we do need the rain, the reds and maroon reds. That signifies an extreme and exceptional drought, and we desperately need it. And those are the areas that will be getting the most rainfall as we go into next week. So that'll be a big help. But unfortunately, with the clash of the air masses, as we have cooler air coming in on the backside with any cold fronts that move through, we will have to be watching out for some severe weather. So all modes will be on the table: damaging winds, large hail, and maybe a couple of tornadoes. Now, I'm not concerned about any severe weather outbreaks or tornado outbreaks or anything like that into early October, but I do think up across the Midwest, down through the central and southern plains, this will be the prime area to watch for severe weather into early October, at least through the first full week of October. But then changes do come. Remember, I mentioned towards the latter portion of next weekend. See, we have the cooler weather on Friday, October 6th, out across the Rockies and the West Coast. The warmer than normal temperatures continue across eastern Canada and the eastern United States. But watch as we enter in toward next weekend here on Saturday, October 7th. We start to march those cooler temperatures further to the east as a cold front moves in. And that replaces us with some warmer temperatures as a ridge takes hold across portions of Western Canada up here into British Columbia and Alberta, all the way south across the immediate west coast of the United States. And this even plunges further off to the east southeast on Sunday. So where you see the blues. Now, don't mistake this, folks. This is not middle of winter type of cold. We're just talking about temperatures departure from normal. So if your normal high temperature, for example, in Dallas is 85 degrees for October 8th, and you're seeing temperatures that are 4 degrees below normal from that, well, then do the math on that. That is the upper 70s and low 80s for high temperatures as we go into later this weekend. So don't get it twisted, folks. The blues on the maps does not mean we're going to be seeing 0 degree high temperatures or anything like that, at least not yet. But looking here on Friday, you can see those cooler temperatures. These are your potential highs next Friday, a week from today. Yeah, we could be back into the 70s. Very refreshing. Areas that have seen hot weather down here across the southern plains could be getting a reprieve in toward Friday, and then extending it in towards next weekend there on the Sunday, October 8th time frame. Yeah, we'll see the 80s return, but notice there's no 90s, there's no triple digits down here, so a lot cooler across the southern plains, and I know you folks down there desperately deserve it. And across portions of Canada and the upper Midwest, the Great Lakes, and New England here, especially interior New England, there's the potential, if this trough that comes in towards that second week of October is potent enough, we could be seeing highs down into the 50s, even the 40s up across this region. And that would be favored from Manitoba down through Quebec and Ontario, Canada, and then into portions of Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio, and then much of the New England states as well towards that time frame. Now we turn to the tropics. Remember, we are entering into the second half of the hurricane season. So we already passed the peak of the hurricane season. That was in the middle of September. We are stair-stepping our way down the ladder here as we go through October and into November. But we still have a long ways to go here. And just to signify that for you folks and to clarify, we do have two tropical storms we're watching. We're watching Tropical Storm Philippe and Tropical Storm Rina here as well across portions of the North Atlantic Ocean, and they're very close apart. They're really not that far away from each other here, as you can see on the visible satellite imagery. Here is Tropical Storm Philippe, a 45-mile-per-hour tropical storm. It's kind of just meandering around down here just to the east of the Lesser Antilles, and it's just going to kind of sit down here through the early portion of next week. And then looking at Rina, whatever you call it, it's going to be moving further off to the north and west as a tropical storm as well, and then kind of dropping back as a tropical depression early next week. So both these systems really not posing much of a risk to land out here. These are basically just fish storms. But looking at this weekend, you can see very close these systems are to each other across the North Atlantic. As we get into early next week, they're kind of going to be meander around the Lesser Antilles, or maybe just to the north and east of there. And then by later next week, it's going to be a distant memory as these systems just continue to fizzle out and move out across portions of the North Atlantic Ocean away from any source of land. And we're not going to see much interaction there with the land at all. So no big concerns from these systems, at least in the tropics in the short term. But looking through the middle of October, there is some concern for potentially some tropical development that could become more favorable there in the Western Caribbean and the Yucatan, or even the southern Gulf of Mexico. And of course, the Eastern Pacific will be busy as well in towards the middle of October there. So we're going to continue to watch it for you folks, and we will keep you updated if anything does break here with the tropics across those areas. But as of now, if you live in the Gulf, the Yucatan, the Caribbean, you guys are A-okay. No tropical systems to mention anytime soon. Well, if you want to watch my winter weather forecast for 2023 and 24, that video is in the description down below this video. Make sure to go watch it. Leave a like, leave any comments, questions, and concerns you have about the winter forecast for this year on that video as well. I do appreciate it. Otherwise, like this video by giving it a thumbs up. Leave any comments, questions, and concerns below. Share this video on social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, etc., with friends and family. Anybody you know, I really do appreciate it. It just helps to spread the word with accurate weather forecasts right here on Weather on the Go. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great weekend, and I will see you all in the next video.